Hello, everyone. Welcome to a live session. Today is Thursday, August 14, 2025. Excuse me if I sound not I sound unusual because I'm dealing with a flu. I should say a cold. It's more of a cold than a flu. And I was away for a while and I picked up a virus somewhere. But my Chinese herbs have really been helping me to recover. So deeply grateful for it. So welcome to the live session. Today's topic is going to be on the signs of your spiritual growth, signs of your spiritual growth, what that means for you, how you can identify that you are growing spiritually and know that when change is happening, sometimes it might feel scary because you're letting go of certain things like fear, and sometimes that could feel uncomfortable when you're letting things go. So I want to talk about this today so that as you're going through this spiritual growth, you can see the signs and you could manage it in a better way. Sometimes when people go through spiritual growth, it's too much for them. It's too much for them. And they go into anxiety, stress, chaos, panic mode. And I don't want you to do that. That's why this session is important for to discuss and for your spiritual growth and expansion. Hi, Ella. How are you? Hey, Moon. I never thought I would catch the live. Oh, I'm so glad you are. I always say everything happens in divine timing. It happens exactly when it should happen. So it all happens in divine timing. So I'm glad you were able to join. If you have any questions about this topic or other topics, please let me know. Please let me know. I'm happy to answer any topics that you may have on this topic or any other topic. Hi, Kiona. How are you? Oh, and it's again, it's lovely to have you. Okay. Hi, Kiona. I really need to hear this. I've been thinking of this topic. Thank you. Oh, glad. Oh, wonderful. Again, the universe, everything has divine timing, right? I always, whenever I think about something, your thoughts really do create your reality. Whenever I say, oh God, I need to find this, and I'm thinking in my head, and next thing you know, the universe presents me with a name. It's just out of nowhere. I think about, oh, I need to do this, and then next thing you know, the universe presents me with uh, a person or an opportunity out of nowhere. So your thoughts really do create your reality, and the power of intention also creates your reality. Okay, so let's just take a little moment to just clear the energy of the room, and then let's go into this discussion on the topic of signs of your spiritual growth and expansion. So just breathe naturally, be present in the now. Dear God, angels, spirit guides, set masters, divine creator, thank you so much for allowing us to create this sacred space. Thank you so much for allowing us to be able to talk on this topic of signs of your spiritual growth and expansion. Very honored to do this session and to receive those messages and pass it along to these wonderful, beautiful souls. Thank you so much for removing any low frequency energies that do not belong in this room, that do not serve the highest and best good of all of the beautiful beings in this room. Thank you so much for allowing this session to go off without a hitch, to go with flow, peace, and serenity. And so does Namaste. Okay. Hi, Ella says, this has been my reality. I think of something, the universe gives me the resources to do it, even when I didn't have them. Absolutely. That's the way it works. The power of your thoughts, the power of consciousness, the power of vibration that you're emitting out into the universe is so powerful. Okay, so let's go to the topic. What are the signs that you should be looking out for of your spiritual expansion and growth? I would say the first one is that you are more alone. You might feel you might feel like you're alone, but you're not feeling lonely. That you are comfortable being by yourself more and more. That you don't need a lot of people around you. That having this lonely journey is something that you're becoming more comfortable with. That you're starting to uh, really sort of weave into, that you're you're really, really living into it. It's like getting comfortable. Like if you buy a new chair or buy a new sofa and you keep sitting on it and you get more and more comfortable with that new chair or that new sofa and you're molding that sofa or that chair, well, that's what it feels like that at first it feels a little uncomfortable that you're alone, but as you keep, you're keeping on this journey, you're getting more and more comfortable with being by yourself. You're really, you know, molding that sofa, molding that chair, molding that um, leather seat. You're getting more and more comfortable being by yourself. The other sign is you sort of feel disconnected from others. Because when you're growing spiritually, you're actually raising your vibrational frequency. So if you're here, you're not going like you're now raising it, right? And so there's going to be a disconnection from the people that you've known before because you're at a higher frequency. You're over here while they're still here. And so there would be a disconnection from others because as you keep growing spiritually, you're raising your frequency and you're leaving those behind. Now, doesn't mean that those behind can't raise their frequency and meet you where you're at. Of course, they can certainly do that, but oftentimes that doesn't happen. Oftentimes they stay where they are and you keep moving up that ladder. And so as you keep moving up that ladder, it's going to be natural that they're going to be left behind, right? So then that creates that disconnect. Disconnect from your old friends, from your old colleagues, from the people that you've known in the past. And sometimes it might be a disconnect from people that you've known for 20 years, 30 years, you've known for your whole life because which can be sad because it could be somebody who you've known for a long time and it's just there's not because if they're not expanding spiritually with you, there's inevitably going to be a disconnect. There's no alignment, there's no resonance there. So that's another sign. And so during those times, that could be very hard because when you start getting disconnected from others, right, there is again, it plays into that number one, that lone, like I feel alone, right? But if you stay on the journey, you'll see that again, like that leather seat, as you continue on that journey and not give up on yourself, you're going to start feeling more and more comfortable and less disconnected from others and more connected with yourself. So that's another sign that you're growing spiritually and expanding spiritually. The other sign is your old life just doesn't fit anymore. It doesn't fit who you are anymore. It's like maybe it's the old life of, I used to go, I used to do this all the time. I used to go to the bar every Friday night with my friends, or I used to do certain things. It just doesn't fit. It just doesn't. And there's nothing wrong with going to a bar. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with going to a bar and having a drink with a friend. There's nothing wrong with that. But perhaps if you've been doing it so much that it no longer fits your spiritual growth and expansion. There's no longer interest, or there's no longer interest in having relationships that felt very superficial. So a lot of the people in your life that you've known, they were really not so much friends, but they were really acquaintances. And you realize that they're acquaintances and that life just doesn't fit. You want something more deeper, more meaningful. You want something that has more substance, that has more root, that has more real connections. So maybe like that old life of, I remember people would say, "Oh, I know this person, I know this person, I know this person." And they don't really know that person. They're kind of like acquaintances. And so, oh, this is my friend, this is my friend, this is my friend, but they're really acquaintances. And you realize that, these superficial relationships called acquaintances, they don't really, that's like kind of my old life. I don't put a lot of effort into those as I used to do before. That superficial acquaintance, meeting up with them and stuff like that. you're kind of like more into something more deeper, more meaningful. And so you're like, you know what? It's okay. I don't have to know all these people. I don't have to know all of the acquaintances. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with letting these people go. I want more deeper, meaningful relationships because it no longer, that old life no longer resonates with you. So that's another sign of spiritual growth and expansion. Another sign is that your intuition gets really stronger. That's an important thing to note. Your intuition gets really stronger. What does that mean? The intuition is really the high priestess feminine energy. That's what it really is. And it's the energy of spirituality. That's what the intuition is. You can't quite, intuition is like there's no obvious evidence for it, but you know something and you can't explain why you know it. You can't explain why you know that's to be the case. There's no obvious evidence, but you just know it. The intuition gets heightened. And that's the feminine energy of the high priestess is that it's a connection to something that it's your higher self, it's the divine. You're connecting with that part of yourself. And that's why the intuition gets heightened because as you keep uh, growing spiritually, right, you're tapping more and more into that high priestess intuition energy, that feminine energy. And so as you become more intuitive and you're connecting more with your higher self, more with the divine, you're going to see that your intuition is heightened. It's like I know something, I can't explain, and you start to trust your intuition more. That's another thing is you really start to trust your intuition a lot more than you used to because sometimes our intuition speaks, but we question it. You're like, "Oh, maybe that's not true." Like our ego mind steps in. Our ego mind steps in and says, no, 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 no. Like it messes with us and messes with that intuitive side. And when you become more spiritually grown and expansive, you are less doubting your intuition and you're trusting more of your intuition. That's something to look out for, is when you can really trust your intuition more and more, that means you're going through spiritual growth and expansion. Uh, okay. The other sign of spiritual growth is it feels uncomfortable, especially when you're making really start to make more of the big jump, big leaps. Not I wouldn't say quantum because I haven't really met anybody that made a quantum leap of spiritual growth. But let's say you're making a little bit of the progress is step by step. It's a little bit. But as you keep going on this journey, you're going to see that there's going to be a time where it starts to kind of make a little bit more of a jump like this. And when that happens, you're going to feel that you could feel anxiety, you could feel some level of chaos, you could feel lost, you could feel confused. It's because as you keep making that leap in a bigger way, it's a feeling that you feel uncomfortable because the feeling is not familiar, right? It's a new experience that you're going through. And that new experience can often create confusion, create anxiety, create stress because you don't know what's going on with you. And you're like, oh my God, I don't know what's going on with me. I have no idea what's going on with me. And that can feel very, very confusing. And so that's another sign of spiritual growth is when you are going up that ladder of that spiritual growth and you're starting to accelerate more. At the beginning, it could feel really uncomfortable because what it is that you're moving towards more love and you're moving away from fear. You're moving more towards love and you're moving away from fear. So as you keep going up that spiritual ladder, you keep moving more towards love and away from fear. And for some of us, that could feel very uncomfortable because we might have lived in fear for so long, and that's the familiar feeling. It's what our cell and every cell in our body is familiar with. And when it's familiar with it and you're trying to now disconnect from that familiar feeling, that's when it creates anxiety, stress, chaos, confusion, feeling lost. So so that's a very natural feeling because if we're always living in fear and that's what we're used to, then when you start moving away from fear and moving towards love more and more, it's more of an unfamiliar feeling. And so that could create stress, anxiety, and chaos in our lives. And so that's another sign of spiritual growth and expansion is when you are moving towards love, a higher frequency, and that higher frequency you've never felt before. None of your cells in your body has felt that before. Your higher self is in that frequency zone, but your body, the body, like every cell in your body, the physical body has not felt it. And that could create disarray, that could create confusion, that could create feeling lost, anxiety, stress. Okay, so let's just take a little break and see if there's any questions or comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. Hi, Praise, how are you? Hi, Star Goddess 888. Uh, okay. Praise says, I love that name, Praise. Thank you so much. What what do you think when you're going on spiritual path and just all the problems come into your way? Right. That's a good question. Okay. So you're saying I'm on my spiritual path and all of these problems are coming my way. Well, that means that you are, because what it is this, is that when you're trying to shift and change to a higher frequency, there's always some of that resistant energy, right? It's not necessarily going to happen smoothly because if it happens smoothly, then all of us could do it, right? All of us could do it easily. Spiritual growth and expansion is not easy. It's hard. It takes practice. And so there's a lot of things that are thrown your way. It's almost like a test. Can you overcome those things in your life? Because if you can overcome them with dignity, with integrity, with constructive thoughts and productive ways, that means you are growing spiritually, right? So think about you can't grow without those obstacles and challenges. I've never seen anybody grow because everything was so good, right? Have you ever seen anybody really grow to the next level because there were no challenges in their life? I've never seen it. People grow the most when there's actual challenges in their life. And those challenges are to make you stronger, is to make you more committed, is to make you more courageous, is to make you have more faith in yourself and the divine. Those challenges is testing you to see if you're how you're going to handle it. Are you going to transcend the situation and make that spiritual growth? Are you going to allow that situation to allow you to fall or fail miserably, right? You have two choices here. When you are presented with all of those challenges, the spiritual growth and expansion is about it's a test. What are you going to do? Are you going to transcend it? In which case you will continue to grow spiritually, or are you going to allow it to make you fail? Are you going to go the other direction? And are you going to fall on your face? So it's a test of which way, how you're going to handle it. The challenges are important in our lives to make us spiritually strong and have more faith, commitment to ourselves and to the divine. That's what it's there for. That's why when you see all of the things that are what you call I call it challenges. That's what I like to use the word challenges because words are very powerful. And so let's be careful about what word that we choose. Challenges seem like a better word. Problems just feel very low frequency. Challenges feel more high frequency. You're going through challenges, and when you transcend them, when you overcome them, you're making that spiritual growth and expansion. So that's why those challenges are there. And as you keep going up higher the ladder, right? You're going to see more and the challenges could get bigger too. They don't necessarily get smaller. It just means that you're able to handle more. You're able to handle bigger challenges. As you go up that spiritual ladder, it means that you're able to handle those challenges even more. And that's an incredible sign. And so stay with the course, praise. Do not give up on yourself. Do not give up on the divine. Do not give up on this universe. Stay with the course. You could say you could say a phrase like you could say an intention like you could say an affirmation something like, "Oh, thank you for presenting me with these challenges so I may grow spiritually. Thank you for presenting me with these challenges so I may transcend them so that I am growing spiritually." You could say something like that. You could say, "Thank you for these challenges so I may grow spiritually." That's what I would say. And so you're rephrasing it. You're giving it a more powerful meaning, and that's really important. So thank you so much for that wonderful question. Thank you, Star Goddess 888, for your the healing bridge. Yes, I do feel better. The last 3 or 4 days, I had body aches and a little bit of fever. I was taking my Chinese herb, so that really helped me. And then it turned into like sneezing and coughs. And today I feel actually, I think for 2 days I was suffering. So third day I feel much better. So thank you so much. Okay. Oh, Keanu, I'm so glad that I'm giving you clarity. I'm so glad. I'm glad that this is being helpful. Ella Watson said, "There's a guy who I used to work out with 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, and he never mentioned about being married and only did disclosed after 6 weeks. I was disappointed. Am I justified to cut him off?" That's a good question. Okay. Um, as long as he's divorced now, that's okay as long as he's not married. The reason why somebody, like if you're dating new, that they may not come out with the information right away is because he might not want to get hurt, right? He may not want to disclose things when he doesn't know if this thing is really going to work out. So at the very beginning, I couldn't understand why he may refrain from certain information. But as long as he's already divorced, it's okay because he's not deceiving his family, he's not deceiving his wife, right? And so understand that just to come out with your whole life story in the first day or week could be too much, and it could be too much for him. He wants to be more cautious. So if he waited 6 weeks, to me, that feels okay, as long as, he's not married now. He's just trying to be careful with the relationship. So as long as he's not married now, I don't see anything wrong with the 6 weeks. And to me, I would think that he's a more thoughtful person, mindful, that he's just not blabbing all of his stuff to me, right? I actually appreciate when people respect those boundaries when you don't really know them. I respect that. So the fact that he needed to get to a place where he felt more comfortable with you and that he could trust you more. So as long as he's not married and he's not deceiving a wife or family, then I think 6 weeks is more than reasonable. Okay. So, I wouldn't just cut him off. Ella continues, "Sometimes when I make mistakes, I start doubling myself, doubting myself, my growth, my self-worth. I ask myself, why do I make a mistake? Have grown spiritual and intellectually." Okay, so in terms of when you doubt yourself, okay, everybody's going to go through that. I don't know even the most confident person I know on this planet has moments of doubt, right? Has moments of doubt. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I wouldn't, be so hard on yourself when you have those moments of doubt. Be kind to yourself and say, "You know what? I'm going to pause. I have a right to have some doubt about myself, and I'm going to allow this energy to run through me. You know, I don't feel so great about myself, but I acknowledge that, and I'm just going to let it run through me, and I'm going to get back on the horse." So, doubting yourself is a very human thing. We're not robots. We're not, we're not God. We're human beings. That's why, God is so it is so it's so much God is so powerful and so beautiful because we're not perfect. We don't have that perfection of God, although we do come from God energy. So we could move towards that perfection. But I don't know, even the most confident person, I don't know, is always confident 24/7, 7 days a week. I've never met anybody. So the days now, if you're doubting yourself for past 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, then it no longer serves you. But if you have bad moments in your life and you've doubted yourself, then say it's okay. I'm gonna ride this out and I'm gonna get back on the horse. Okay, say it's okay. It's okay, Ella, that you've doubted yourself. I'm gonna pause and I'm gonna let this energy run through me, and then I'm gonna get back on the horse. Okay? So know that just because you doubted yourself, it doesn't mean that you should you should reprimand yourself. Be more kind to yourself. Like I said, as long as it's not happening for too long, right? For too long, then it's okay. Because we're human beings and we have to operate on a human being level. Oh, he is married. He was deceiving me, hiding the fact that he is married, yet I was investing emotionally. Yeah. Well, if he was married, I agree. That's not a good sign. That's a huge red flag. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about it, right? You're married, so you're not being honest. You're not, first of all, he's not being honest with his family and his wife. So that in and of itself is a big flag. And now he's deceiving you on top of deceiving his own family. So that's a really big flag. Yeah. I would say that's a big red flag. It's a big red flag. And you know what? The fact is this, Ella. It's okay. Excuse me. My nose is running a little bit. It's okay. It's okay because think about it. Think of it with a glass half full mindset. At least it didn't go on for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, right? It's 6 weeks, and that's a good thing. It didn't go on much longer than that. So you could see that as a blessing that, yes, you did invest emotional because it was for 6 weeks and you spent 3 hours, but it could be far worse. It could have been for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, in which case it would have been even worse. So see it with the glass half full, that yes, it was 6 weeks. It wasn't the worst. It's still a short period of time. So see it that way. See, how can I see this with a glass half full lens? Thank you, Ella. Thank you for sending me healing marriage uh, energies. Run, Ella. Yes, I agree with Kiona. I do think that this is a very bad sign. Because if he's deceiving his own family, how would he be good to you in the future? I always say, if you want to know if they're going to be good to you, see how they treat their own family first, right? If you want a good man in your life or a good partner or good anybody in your life, first see how they're treating their own family, because that would be a huge sign of how they're going to treat you later. So this is a very, yeah, it is deception. And if he's deceiving his family, even if he left it, Lord knows what the future would hold for you guys. I mean, he could easily deceive you later. So I don't think it's a great sign. Okay, so does anybody have any other question? Okay, so let me go and let me see what else I have to say on this topic of spiritual science. I think I kind of covered everything on this topic. I don't want to go for too long because I'm running my nose and I feel like this is like kind of rude. It's kind of rude to be like blowing my nose. So I think I covered everything with that spiritual signs of what the signs are. So let me just recap. First, you feel more alone. You feel uh, you feel alone, but you're feeling more connected with yourself and you're feeling more and more comfortable with being by yourself. That's one sign. You feel more disconnected from others. Why? Because you're moving up the ladder. They're here and you're moving up the ladder. So there's no more connection between you and the others. You feel like your old life no longer fits, right? Because as you keep moving up that vibrational frequency, right? That old life that you had no longer resonates with you. Um, your intuition really gets heightened. It's the feminine energy, it's the high priestess energy, the energy of intuition, the mystic, the spirituality. And you trust it more and more. You trust your intuition more and more. You don't question it as much. You feel very connected with your intuition. Um, you feel more disconnected. You feel more, oh, I said this before, you feel more disconnected with society, with the old life, with the people that you used to know, and you're more comfortable with yourself and being by yourself. There's just a level of comfort that comes with, okay, I'm by myself, but I'm okay with it. I don't feel alone. I don't feel scared. Um, Finally, you may feel some anxiousness, anxiety, stress, chaos, confusion, because as you're moving up that spiritual ladder, what happens is you're moving towards more love and you're removing more fear. And so, as you're going up that ladder, and at some point you're going to go faster on that ladder, you're going to move more faster towards love and away from fear. It's an uncomfortable feeling. It's feelings that you've never felt before. And so when your body hasn't felt it before, it might create some stress, it might create some chaos, it might create anxiety in your life, in the way you feel. And so be good to yourself during those times. Say, it's okay. I'm going through my spiritual expansion and growth. I'll get through this. It's going to take a little time. Be good to yourself. Be patient with yourself. As you're making this spiritual ladder climb, be very patient with yourself. Say, it's not going to happen overnight, but the fact that I keep going up, inching my way up, that's really good. The fact that you just inch your way up more and more, it's a really, really good thing. So give yourself a lot of credit, okay? Okay, so if no one else has any questions, I'm going to close out this room because I'm blowing my nose. You're welcome, Ella. I got my closure that the universe would not send such a person my way. That's a beautiful thing. And it wasn't a mistake because I'm sure even during that 6 weeks, you learned something from that relationship. So I would just take a few minutes and think about, what did I learn from this relationship? Like, what did I learn? And because you've learned some great lessons, okay? Okay. Hi, Perry. How are you? Living with love and harmony, with peacefulness and joy, a celebration of each moment of life unfolding in mystery. Oh, thank you so much, Perry. You always have the most beautiful language and wisdoms that you share. You're welcome, Keone. I'm so glad that all of this was helpful to you. And don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your spiritual growth and expansion. Stay with the course because you are unconditionally worthy and unconditionally lovable. So let's do a closing prayer. Dear God, angel, spirit guide, send a message, divine creator. Thank you so much for allowing us to create this space on the signs of our spiritual growth and expansion. Thank you so much for being here with us as we all grow and be on the journey of our spiritual expansion and growth. That you are always guiding us, sending us wisdom, sending us unconditional love, sending us so much guidance for our spiritual expansion and growth. So we're deeply grateful for you. And I am so deeply grateful that you continue to look after all of these beautiful souls in this sacred space, in this room. They are such beautiful souls, and that you are guiding them and you are truly, truly allowing each of them to be on their spiritual path and grow. So thank you so much for your continued wisdom, your continued support, your continued wisdoms and guidance, and most importantly, your unconditional love. And so it is. I'll see you again next week. Bye.